Well, hello, 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 and welcome to the BYG Summit, brought to you by the collaborative u.com. I am a. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Okay, I am back. Oh my gosh, guys. Okay, so anytime I have technical difficulties, I already know that today's presentation is going to be bonkers. Deborah Bell is a thought leader at the Collaborative U, author, national conference speaker, and coach. And she is about to talk to you about a topic that I believe we all need to focus on. So now that I didn't had my technical glitches and everything, I'm gonna step out the way and I'm gonna let Deborah Bell take the mic. Deborah,
Yes. Can you hear me?
yes, we absolutely can. I'm gonna pull up.
Awesome.
I'm gonna pull up your presentation, and you can go ahead and get started. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Aditya. I'm really excited to be here and excited to do this particular presentation on growth because it is a process that I've been in and continue to be in, and you'll understand why I say that in just a few minutes. So the title that you'll see on the screen is The Path to Intentional Growth. The Path to Intentional Growth. So, Dithia, are we ready?
You are ready. You're working your PowerPoint.
Awesome. Thank you so.
Okay.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
went away. Just a second. Okay. I am so sorry. I was at the end of the presentation and I have to scroll back up to the top. And here we are. We're ready to go. The path to intentional growth. So today we'll be talking about three specific things regarding a path to growth. How do you get there? What things do you have to overcome in order to grow? What are the most significant processes that you need to follow as we think about personal growth. On the screen, you see the three things that we're going to focus on. There are thousands upon thousands of people in the world who have great potential. Potential signifies hope, what could be. It is the forerunner of greatness, but potential unrealized is like a great fighter who never steps into the ring. You know, he gets to show off his potential during his sparring time in practice. And you can see he's sticking and moving. He's sticking and moving, and he's swift, and he can slide in and out, and he's avoiding the punches. This great fighter who's living up to who's working out his potential. He's showing his potential in the weight room. He's lifting three times his weight. He's benching three times his weight. He's doing it in the weight room, but he will not step into the ring. Everybody's talking. Everybody who sees him working out and sparring, working out in the gym, they're talking about, oh, this is a great fighter. This is going to be a great fighter. You know, he's going to be really good in the ring, but he never steps into the ring. He looks great, but he never shows the potential that everybody sees that he has. That's pretty much like many people. I mean, I could see myself having been in that situation, great potential, but nothing happening. In the analogy that I gave, the fighter is potentially a great contender, but he won't get into the ring to prove it. To reach your greatest potential, you will have to fight your greatest fears. That's an anonymous quote. Potential is a priceless treasure, like gold. All of us have gold hidden within, but we have to dig it out. Joyce Meyer. And can I give you one more? Continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. Winston Churchill. There are 3 points that I want to make, and we'll explore during this lunchtime. In pursuing the path to growth, you must develop a growth mindset. You got to get past the pain, or at least understand how to manage it in such a way that it leads to growth. And then the last thing we'll talk about is your comfort zone. You got to defeat the comfort zone in order to grow. Most of us expect that growth will just happen miraculously, but that's not how it works. These 3 points will guide us through this path to growth, and we'll walk away with some tips and tools, some action items for how to begin to grow and to ensure that we continue to grow over the rest of our lives. So the first area that we're going to explore is growth mindset. You have to have a growth mindset. Personal growth is not a natural process. It's not a natural process. It doesn't just happen, because growth must be intentional. Growth does not just happen by accident. You must demonstrate some things that are or could you must dismantle some things that could be hindrances to your growth and create a plan for growth. What's your plan for growth? What is it that you're doing consistently, consecutively, in order to ensure that you're continuing to grow? What things have you had to put behind you in order to make sure that you keep moving forward? Forward is the key word here. We're going to talk about pain. Pain, good management of bad experiences leads to a great growth. Pain in your life can either create growth or stop your momentum completely. It all depends on the choices you make when experiencing pain or bad experiences in your life. And then the last thing, comfort, the comfort zone. The comfort zone keeps us stagnant. We must stretch past our comfort zones to move from potential to growth. So, the growth mindset. Personal growth is not a natural process. We tend to think that as time passes that you will naturally grow. Well, that may be true of the human body when we're doing the right things to grow, or when there's nothing hindering us, any kind of disease or disorder or dysfunction in our physical bodies that hinders growth. Yes, we will grow, but personal growth is a little bit different. It's not a natural process. That means we have to engage a process in order to grow. Growth requires effort, intentional plans, and actions. It is a lifelong process. It's not simply a goal. We can set goals as a part of our growth process, but The goal is not the actual means to an end. It's about achieving the goal, being able to trace and track it, being able to see ourselves accomplishing the goals, and then continuing to move forward. Because once one goal is set and accomplished, there should always be the next thing to keep us moving. What's the word? Forward, to keep us moving forward. So, as we talk about this growth mindset, the first thing I want to suggest is that you have to fight your fears and other roadblocks to growth. We have to fight our fears and other roadblocks to growth. So, what are they? Growth roadblocks. There are 5 that I listed here. There's the assumption block. I just assume I'll automatically grow. That doesn't work. Uh, when we have set our minds to growth, there has to be action. We cannot simply sit on our laurels and expect to be better, to do better, to move to the next level. There has to be action and activity. We cannot simply assume that it's going to happen. We got to get beyond that roadblock of assumption. The knowledge block. I don't know how to grow. Certainly you don't. But as you understand what you're here to do, you'll also understand what things you need to do in order to promote and excel in those areas that you've identified as what you're here to do. For instance, I've worked as a coach formally since 2006, but I was told 5-6 years before that that was a great area for me to pursue. I had no idea what a coach was, what a coach did, or anything. So I had to do some research. I had to get some books and start reading about coaching. And while back in 2006, as it is now, coaching is not necessarily an area that you have to be certified in. There's no governing body to regulate that, but I wanted to be certified. So I had to save some money and then pursue a certification program. The program that I decided to pursue was the John Maxwell Team program, which is a great, great, great program. So this whole idea of I don't know how is easily managed by doing some research as you understand what it is you want to be or do. Then that will dictate your next step in resolving that knowledge block. That's an easy one to resolve. The next roadblock to growth is the mistake block. I'm afraid of growing. I'm afraid because I don't want to make a mistake. I don't know exactly how to do this, but I don't want to make a mistake. So I'm just going to sit here right where I am, look cute, look fine, and not grow. No, that's not the conversation. So instead of the mistake block and dealing with that whole fear, you have to come at that thing head first. Understand that you can learn from your mistakes. So mistakes are not an end all. They do not push you so far back most of the time that you can't move forward. They may set you back, but you learn from them and you learn how to maneuver around them, go through them, and overcome whatever the fear is about growing and making mistakes. So the assumption block, you don't automatically grow. The knowledge block, yeah, you may not know how, but it's easy to find out. And then the mistake block, you don't have to be afraid. You can manhandle that fear. Just box it on out and keep moving forward, because mistakes will happen, but you can learn from your. I guess I'm repeating that one because so many people are immobilized by mistakes because they have this idea that you have to be perfect. No one is perfect. No, not one. So for each of us, our mistakes help us to transition into that place of success that we need to grow to. So understand that your mistakes have purpose, and they can help you. Then the perfection block. I have to find the best way before I can start growing. I just talked about perfectionism. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect. So just do it. Just get started and you'll learn what you need to do. You'll shave off some things. You'll turn some curves. You'll make up some ground as you go along. But don't be afraid to start now. Start growing now. And then the last block, roadblock to growth, is the comparison block. Other people out there are doing it better than me. Oh my. Have that one has been a problem for me because when you look out at all of what's available now in social media and how people are just killing it and slaying it in their particular industries and areas and with the presentations that they make on social media, one of the things I've come to understand, people want to identify with the person on the screen. That's why you can just be who you are and present your best self and know that you will have an audience. There will be somebody that identifies with what you're bringing, what you're presenting. In fact, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but there are people out there who are waiting for you to step forward and present what you have because they need it. They're waiting for it. So what are you going to do? Hopefully, you're going to move around these growth roadblocks and decide to grow so you can bring to market what it is you have to offer. Don't allow these growth roadblocks to be a hindrance to stop you from accomplishing what you need to accomplish and to grow in the areas that you need to grow in. Planning. Well, let me not get ahead of myself. Let me go back to this because I want to wrap this up. Take some time to write out a growth plan around the areas where you are blocked. Everybody won't have all 5 of these, hopefully not. Somebody might. But if, for instance, your problem area is the knowledge block, I talked about that one. As you take time to write out a growth plan around the area, you want to focus that on what it is you need to accomplish as it relates to your knowledge to grow. What is it that you need to accomplish? If you want to be a coach, what are the steps you need to take? Research, enroll in a course or certification program like I did. That will give you some necessary skills and tools. Join a networking organization where you can attend events and gain greater insights and share with others who are doing the same thing, and maybe even find a mentor. Go back to school. Maybe education formally is something that you need in order to overcome this knowledge block. Complete the degree that you started to enhance your knowledge. What are the steps you need to take? Only you can identify those. But I've given you some ideas of where to start as it relates to this knowledge block. As it relates to the perfection block, the thing that you need to do is just do it. Don't wait. Stop putting it off. You're not going to be perfect. Just own that and walk in who you are. People are ready and waiting to receive who you are. Now, the next thing that you want to do as you take time to write out a growth plan around the area, and I've given you an example with the knowledge block, grab your calendar. You'll need your calendar to determine a timeline and action items listed throughout the year to reach your goal. For instance, a coaching class, certification class may take 5 to 6 months or longer if you enroll in a course at a college, a degree plan at a college. You may have to save up in order to take the class. Write it down. Write it down. Can I say that again? Write it down. Whatever the actions are, put them on your calendar and begin to plan out a process so that by X date, you will be in school. You will have the funds to pay for the course. You will have a date to actually start doing the thing that you need to do in order to overcome that block. Make sure that you include the short term and long range activities that will lead to your growth. You must be intentional. Growth is not a goal, but it's a lifelong process. Now, when you're using a calendar, when you're writing things down, make sure you put the dates. That's important because then you can go back and you can see from year to year, from month to month, where you are. And when you notice that you're not accomplishing the thing that you want to accomplish, start over, re-enter those action items, give them new dates, and start. You may need an accountability partner. A coach is a wonderful accountability partner. A coach will come alongside and help push you toward the growth that you're wanting to see in yourself. So, and helping you to accomplish those short term and long range goals. Um, a good trusted friend is somebody else who can help you. And we'll talk about people that you can pull into this process as we go along. All right. So write it down. What did I say? Write it down. Planning starts now. That's the whole process. You want to make sure that you're planning it out, that you're doing it, that you can see for yourself how you're accomplishing those things that you want to accomplish. And you'll be able to trace the growth that's occurring as you go along. Pain. So we talked about a growth mindset. It's clearing away those roadblocks that are hindering you from actually accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish and to be able to see yourself grow. This next area of pain is a great teacher. It's a great source of growth. Now, I may get some pushback about that particular one because we always look at pain differently. But this is one that we'll talk about throughout the end of the presentation in some way. Pain is the great teacher. There are three general responses that we give when we encounter painful situations or bad experiences. In fact, let me give you, they're here. Avoid it. Some of us just want to avoid it, act like it's not happening. Whatever the bad experience is, whatever the painful situation is, we want to avoid it at all costs. Others, we just want to deal with it. We can't get around it. We just got to deal with it. And sometimes dealing with it is not a positive thing, because dealing with it may also mean that we're sitting in it and not doing anything about it. We're allowing it to manage us, and as opposed to us managing whatever the situation is. So you don't want to avoid it. You don't want to just simply deal with it. You want to be able to embrace whatever the pain point is. And this is what we find that most great leaders do. They embrace the pain, because out of the pain can come great growth. You will have experiences that you can look back on and track how you have changed because of those experiences. How do you deal with pain or bad experiences? What do you do? There are some people that fall into the categories of the coulda, woulda, shouldas in their lives. I could have had more money and been more financially stable if novel coronavirus had not hit. Do you not know how many people have started businesses in this environment, in this economic environment? Do you not know how many people are doing the thing that they had put off for years and years, but during this pandemic, it opened up an avenue for them to go forward and present what they had to the marketplace, to their industry, to the people who need their service. Don't allow economic shortfalls to be a hindrance. There are so many places where small businesses are able to get loans. There's so many people. I don't know if you know about Baygood. Beyonce has put up so much money to offer small business loans. The NAACP is one of the sites where you can find out information about Baygood and the funds that she's made available for small businesses. And there's so many others out there. So that shouldn't be something that stops you. Incompetence. I should have seen that coming. Well, you didn't. So now that it's happened, what are you going to do? How are you going to gather yourself and embrace the situation and move forward? Don't let those kinds of things stop you. Not being successful enough. I could have been on the top if shoulda, coulda, wouldas. They don't help you in any shape, form, or fashion to move forward. In fact, there are additional hindrances. There's a choice here to either become bitter or become better. Which one are you going to choose? You can become bitter or you can become better. Um, it's a choice. It's a choice you have to make. Uh, what are you going to do with your bad situation, with the pain that you're experiencing? How do you become better and not bitter? How do you become better and not bitter? Understand your emotions. Emotions can take us places that we never thought we'd go if we allow them to run rampant. Those thoughts in our minds can create actions and activity that takes us so far away from the goals, the purpose, the plans that God has for us, and even what we've written down as a result of our time with God. Understand your emotions and take some time, step back if you need to, and get some support with your emotions. Sometimes we need counselors to come alongside of us and give us tools to be able to manage those emotions in a positive way so that they don't run rampant and then uh, allow us to forfeit the growth that we could have had as a result of the pain or the experiences in our lives. I remember when my father passed away, I actually took a whole year. I planned to take a whole year off from um, coaching and my business in order to heal. I knew that it would take time. I understood that even though I didn't know where my emotions would be, I understood that I was going to have some problems. And so I planned for that. And by stepping back, it's allowing me to come back into the business with more strength, more focus, more stamina. But if I had just run through things with the emotions of that loss, I may not be doing this presentation today. But I'm thankful to God that He gave me the foresight to sit down somewhere. And some of us, we need to step back, sit down for a minute, and deal with our emotions. We need to identify, in order to move forward, we need to identify the change we want to have. What do we want it to look like? What do we want our life to look like? If you don't know, how will you know what you need to do? What direction you need to go in? Here again, we may need some help. Here's where a great coach could help you as you identify specific goals, specific actions, the purpose for your life. Here's where a good coach could help with that. Identify the change you desire to have. And once you identify it, then you'll be able to create a plan for moving forward. But if you don't have that desire identified, how do you make a plan around what you don't know? So you got to have that in place. And then get input from others you trust. There are probably people in your life, again, I mentioned accountability, who can bring some accountability to what you're doing to help you stay on track and on purpose. It's great to have those people in your lives because they will push you when you don't want to move. So 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 get input from others about where you're going. Sometimes an outside party can hear clearer something that you've been dealing with for a while. So get some input from others and find the right people. You don't want someone who doesn't have your best interest at heart. That's not the person you want to share with. You want to share with people who are your cheerleaders, but who also have a good balance, and maybe somebody who's doing what you're doing or somebody who's done it. Again, a mentor may be the person that you approach about getting input. The big thing here is moving forward. You gotta keep moving forward. I said that earlier. It's one of the things that is a theme when we talk about growth. It's about forward movement. It's not all about where we've been. Where we've been can inform where we're going, but know that it's a forward movement. Um, do your own self evaluation when managing bad life experiences. Ask yourself, how do I deal with pain? That's a good question. Write it down because you need to spend some time maybe journaling. How do you deal with pain? Do I avoid it or deal with it because I have no other choice? Are you stuck in that place of pain because you don't see a way out? Write it down. Do I avoid it or deal with it because I have no other choice? No way out. And then the last question that would be great for journaling. Do I embrace the pain and stay positive? That's where you want to get, to be able to embrace what's going on, see it for what it is, recognize the pros and the cons of actions that you should take, looking clearly and defining what it means for you to make this move or that move. Embrace the pain and stay positive. Understand that it's not the end of the world because something bad happened. I have a younger friend who's going through some issues in her workplace. And what she's recognizing is every day there's a silver lining to her experience. And now, when bad things happen, she's in tune with looking for the silver lining. What is the positive out of this negative situation that would make me really go crazy and want to leave this job knowing I have no other source of income? Somebody else may be right there in that situation, but stop for a minute and see, where's the silver lining? What is it that you can gain out of that bad situation? Embrace it and stay positive. Move forward by understanding your emotions. Remember, identifying the specific change you want to have and getting input from others, because personal growth takes action. It takes action. You got to do something. You cannot grow sitting still, remaining in your comfort zone, even sitting in your pain. You cannot grow that way. Personal growth takes action. You got to get up and do something. All right. So we've talked about the growth mindset. We've talked about um, pain. So now we're moving to detaching from comfort. Detaching from comfort. This is a big one because when we're in those comfort zones, it's so easy to live right there, to live life right in the center of where we're comfortable. And those comfort zones could be good places. They could be very good places. It doesn't have to be negative. You could be doing some good stuff in the comfort zone. But you know what? You're not growing there. So this is about intentional growth. Growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you could be. I want you to take that in because we have to detach from those areas of comfort. Growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you could be. I really want you to take time to take that in because understanding that where you are, there's always more. An old friend told me that as it relates to life, there's always more. So my question is, may I have more, please? I'm ready to get up and get more. Growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you could be. And what that's saying to us is there's going to be some uncomfortability. There are going to be spaces and times and places where we are not comfortable, where we think that we're doing something wrong. There's going to be places where we feel like we need to just stop and not try to push forward. But let me tell you something. Processes and transitions are two things that bring discomfort. Processes, if you're in the middle of a process and you're moving from one level to another level, it's going to bring a natural discomfort. Why? Because one, you've never been there before. Two, there's often a learning curve involved when you're moving from one level to another. Have you ever started a new job and you were so very confident in that old position, in that old role? You knew the ins and out of it. Most of it you had set in place because you were the first one to do it well. When you get ready to move to that next level, there's a learning curve and it will not feel comfortable. You'll feel the tension. Let me talk to somebody right quick. Your reviews may not even be good at the beginning, but take the input and apply it so that you can be better, so that you can grow. See, that's one of those places where, I don't want to make a mistake. I haven't gotten a bad review at work, performance review at work in years. So why would I get one now? Well, you're moving from one level to another. This is a transition and you're going through a different process. But don't let that discourage you. Take that tension and stretch. Stretch. Can I say it one more time? Stretch. Because in order to grow, stretching is going to be involved in order to allow that tension to do what it needs to do in your life. Growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you could be, a quote by John Maxwell. So let's talk about stretching. We're almost on the home stretch, maybe the last 6 to 8 minutes here. So talking about stretching, few people ever want to stretch. I walk, and every class that I've ever been in, it starts with stretching because you want to loosen up the muscles. You want those ligaments to be a little bit loose before you start with the heavy activity, the heavy lifting, if you will. But I just get out and go. And then when I come back, everything's all tight. And then I'll stretch. So that that tension that occurs pushes us to stretch, if you will allow it and not be defeated by it. The tension that occurs when you're moving from one level to another, when you're trying to grow past where you are, when you're intentional about getting out of life what you really want, the life that you really desire. I heard somebody say, instead of watching TV all day and watching people who have what they want, well, stretching is necessary. Few people ever want to be stretched. It's funny because we typically avoid pain again at all costs. Told you I was going to talk about pain all through here. Typically, we avoid pain at all costs. 32% of the population have never been to a bookstore or signed up on Amazon for Kindle or ordered books off of Amazon or for their Audible. 32% of the population. When's the last time you did something that you'd never done before? As you begin to write things down and develop your plan for growth, there ought to be things included there that you've never done before. That's critical because if you want something different, what? You already know. You got to do something different. Few people ever want to be stretched, but stretching is necessary. Avoid settling for the status quo. Nobody remembers average people. Get out of that comfort zone. Stop settling for the status quo where everybody else is. Spread your wings. Fly. You can do it. It's in you to do. You may not be ready yet. Your wings may not be at their full capacity yet, but do your research. Get rid of those growth blocks, those growth roadblocks. Embrace the pain and get out of that status quo. Rise above. No one remembers average people. And you remain average when you cling to what's comfortable. Don't do it. You gotta take the necessary steps, the actions, the planning, the research to move forward. Stretching is an inside job. I like that one. It starts with what you think, your self talk. What are you saying to yourself? How are you motivating yourself? What books are you reading? Do you have a morning mantra? Are you looking in scripture and pulling out a word that will help you to stay motivated? Those are things that you can do because stretching, that process of getting those muscles warmed up and ready to roll and run, stretching is an inside job. It starts in your mind. What are you thinking? What are you saying to yourself? Pay attention to that. And when the wrong things come up, have an answer, have a word. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Yes, I am. Have a word. When you look in the mirror and you don't feel your best, have a word. I am made in the very image and likeness of God, the creator of the universe. Have a word, have something that can encourage you along the way so that you don't get stuck in the status quo and in your comfort zone and move back to not wanting to be stretched. You want to be able to undergird and support yourself in this process in such a way that you keep moving where? Forward. Forward. That's the thing. Stretching always requires change. Always. There's no way to do this growth thing without change. You cannot improve and avoid change at the same time. I always say you cannot go with God and stay where you are. If you're still satisfied with what you did 5 years ago, you're not growing. You're not growing. If you're still satisfied with that book you wrote 5 years ago, that class you taught, those folks you coach and their success, you ought to have new success. You ought to be writing something new. It requires change. And then the last thing, stretching separates you from other people. Successful people set themselves apart by going over and above what others do. Where are the areas where you can go over and above what others do? When you commit to a life of stretching, you're never the same. You're always growing. Remember, few people ever want to stretch, but you have to do it. It's necessary. Avoid settling for the status quo. You got to get out of the off the narrow, the broad path and get on that narrow path. Stretching is an inside job. Your thoughts will take you places. So make sure that you're putting things in your mind, that you're looking at things, you're reading things that keep you motivated. And then stretching always requires change. And sometimes change is hard, but like stretching, change is necessary. Stretching separates you from the pack. Come on and pull away from the pack. You want to make sure that you're growing and moving where? Forward. So I'm at the end of the presentation. When you commit to a life of stretching, you will always grow. Know that you got to avoid the roadblocks. You have to embrace the pain. Uh, you got to stretch. You got to stretch and you got to get out of that comfort zone. So come on and let's grow. If you're interested in more information, you can reach me, contact me from my webpage, askp3coaching.org, or by email, askp3coaching@gmail.com. Man, this has been great. I hope that you've been helped and encouraged by the path to intentional growth. Yes, so come on and grow. If you need a coach, I'm available. If you need someone to be accountable to your goals and the things that you're writing down and planning or help planning, P3 Coaching is available to support you in your intentional growth. There we go. Dethea, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this
Amazing.
opportunity.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Let me make sure my speaker is on. Amazing. Oh, I've been sitting back listening to you. I've had people in several groups just on and listening, and I mean, that presentation was what a lot of people needed to shift their thought
Awesome.
process. Yeah, especially during this pandemic. You need to be planning. You need to be planning for your growth and
Absolutely.
not accepting what's coming to you. So I thank you so much, Deborah Bell. I mean, but I didn't hear you mention your podcast. Did you mention your
I
podcast?
did not mention the podcast.
Please tell them where they can find your podcast.
So it's Real Life Podcast. You'll see Deborah Bell and Chris Davis. And we are on all the platforms. So Google Podcasts, Anchor, iTunes, Spotify. You can find us in all those places. And we also have our Facebook. It's Real Life Podcast. You can connect with us there and on Instagram. So please follow us, like, share, follow. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, and we really appreciate it. Deborah's courses can be found on The Collaborative You. That's www.thecollaborativeyou, just the letter u.com. I'll put that in the notes, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you to each one of you who have joined us every day or caught the replays when you could, because there is no replay technically. And if you need to order the replays, go ahead and go to bit.ly/BYG Summit. Those replays can be ordered right now. They're on a crazy promotional deal. So go ahead and get that. And we just thank you guys. We have 2 more days, okay? 2 more days of this summit. And we are closing out strong. Join us tomorrow. Tomorrow, the co-founder and CEO of the Collaborative You, Michelle R. Harden, gonna be on. And then yes, and then
Awesome.
Friday, yes, and then Friday, yours truly. So join us for the last couple of days at the BYG Summit Lunchtime Learning. Thank you guys for joining. Peace, and we are out.